All studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a number one book we want to tell you about. It is called Aftershocks, The Palladium Wars, Book 1. It's written by our guest, Marko, Kloos. Listen to this. It's a number one bestseller in the space opera science fiction category. Who knew there was such a category? Space opera. That sounds pretty exciting. Let's find out what this is about. Oh my gosh, it's number one in every category. Number one in space marine science fiction and also space marine science fiction ebooks. Okay, two different categories. Well, three actually, four different categories. If you look at all of them, right? Number one in every one. That's exciting news. Marko Kloos previously was a soldier, it says here, a bookseller, a freight dock worker, a corporate IT administrator. That means he's got brains and brawn, Robin. That's what that means.
Yes, he does.
He's a member of George R.R. Martin's Wild Cards Consortium. I have no idea what that is. Aftershocks. Good morning, Marko. It's an honor to have you on our show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm based in New Hampshire, but right now I am on vacation with the family in Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Eastern Tennessee.
Two beautiful places. Where you from and where you're visiting. Beautiful, right? So tell me about your writing career. It seems like you've been doing a lot of different things.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure out that writing books is really the only thing I'm cut out for.
Oh my gosh. And you've done a lot. I mean, you're very prolific. I see a lot of books on Amazon with your name.
Yeah, I have a series out called Frontlines that's up to 6 books right now, and this new book that you're talking up is the first one in a new series. So,
where's your accent from? Where are you from?
In Germany originally.
Oh, say it again. You broke up. Is it Germany? Did you say Germany, Robin?
Yes, he did.
Marko?
Yes, Germany.
Okay, I think the signal just dropped a little bit.
You've introduced us to a new genre, space opera.
It's kind of a vaguely defined genre. If you've watched the Expanse on Sci-Fi, that's kind of like an example for space opera, where it's all about politics and interpersonal drama and kind of like. It's kind of like playing off of soap opera only in space, but I'm more known for military science fiction. And this new one, because it has multiple point of view characters and you have all these political intrigues that I didn't have in my earlier books. So that's why they call. But there's so many categories on Amazon where they can put you in, and then everybody can be a number one bestseller.
No. We talk to authors all the time, and it's hard to get to number one, even in a category.
That's true. It's true.
Let's see. I wanted to ask you about the opera part of it. Does that mean there's a lot of dialogue, because I love stories that have dialogue. I'm hoping you say yes.
Oh yeah. This is very dialogue heavy, definitely.
You have a lot of different planets in your new series. How did you come up with each one having their own personality?
I wanted to have, like, the previous series I wrote is near future on Earth, and I wanted to go as far away from that as possible, because when you set your world in a universe that's already to people like our solar system, people will really catch your mistakes if you're not like 100% on with all your science and the distances and the velocities and whatnot, because there's lots of people who are big time into astronomy who read science fiction. So I wanted to have a free hand where I can do no wrong because I made up this entire solar system. So people can't tell me, well, the distance to that planet is wrong. I have to say, no, it's not.
People do that too. They look for every minute detail, and you've done a great job with this one.
Thank you.
Well, and in addition to being number one, you're also getting a lot of good reviews from your readers, people who've actually read the book. So you're really doing really well. Are the characters in this book brand new characters, since this is book one?
Yes, that's brand new. So if somebody wants to jump in, that's a good jumping in point, because it's the first book, so you don't have to catch. I mean, a lot of people like discovering new series where where the book's already up, the series are to 6 or 7 books, because you have a lot to catch up on, and then people are like, oh, great, this series are up to 7 books. I got lots of stuff to read. And other people are like, God, the series up to 7 books already? I have to do all this reading before I can jump in? But
So
the new one is a good jumping in point.
Marko, take us into the book. I want to know what's the story, or I mean, not everything, but just give us like a movie trailer.
Right. It's a war story because I'm more known for military science fiction, but usually war stories start in the war because it's all drama prepackaged. This is a story about what happens after the war when the main character is somebody who fought for the wrong side, and he fought for the bad guys and the bad guys lost, and this whole scenario is how do you pick up the pieces if you've dedicated so much of your life to fighting for the wrong cause. And then finding your way in this new world. Like I had the idea because my grandfather was in World War II, and he did fight for the wrong side, like unequivocally the wrong side.
Oh my!
And, I was just wondering what it would feel like if you come home from the war and you fought for the bad guys and you lost, and now you got to rebuild your life. And how do you do that? And how would you feel? And how would
Yeah, and did he ever tell you about that? Did your grandfather ever talk about that?
No, when I was little, I would ask him because I knew he was in the war, and I'd ask him what it was like, but he changed the subject every time.
Yeah.
And that sense of betrayal that you've instilled in the characters, that keeps their human traits alive. They're very fragile.
Yeah. It's all about, former enemies having to find common ground, even though they kind of loathe each other, and the human relationships that develop, grudging respect, and of course there's lots of action there too. It's not just people talking and not space opera in the sense of like they walk on stage and they exchange dialogue and then they walk off again and then the next people walk on.
Right.
There's lots of stuff blowing up.
So the title Aftershocks is making a lot of sense to me now. Real quick story. My grandfather was on the German side in World War I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so he was, I guess, on the losing side in that war. And when he moved here to America, he lived in a community, and one of his neighbors was on the American side. So two guys who were fighting each other, a couple decades earlier, were now friends. It's an amazing world we live in, right?
It is. It completely is.
I like reading a book that has a lot of suspense in it instead of a lot of blood and gore. And your book is definitely full of suspense. And I'm looking forward to reading your next one because this is an excellent read.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to it also. You have an audiobook, it says here. So you've hit everything. You got the hardcover, the paperback, the Kindle, and the audiobook.
Yep.
And what you're doing with this book also is that sometimes when people are part of a cause and it becomes an historical event that's part of everybody's history, sometimes that original event isn't as impactful as what happens after that event occurs.
Yeah, it's what the name that was. I kind of lucked out, and the series I lucked out in 2 ways because Aftershocks is a cool analogy because Aftershocks is what happens after an earthquake. You can have for months or years afterwards. You can have these shocks that follow the main event, and they can be more destructive than the actual earthquake because they can topple over what was just damaged in the quake, and people don't expect it. It's very unpredictable. So it was cool as a title. Plus, it starts with an A, so now I can do the whole series down the alphabet. So when people ask what sequence the books are in, I don't have to tell them, well, this is book 1, this is book 2, because I can just tell them, go up the alphabet. First one starts with A, second one's going to start with B.
Oh, really? Oh, that's kind of clever.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I think that you would be embraced if you would be featuring your books at the Comic-Cons that are upcoming.
Yeah, I've done Comic-Cons before for the other series, but, and there's lots of Comic-Cons to go to. It's just it's for introverts. It's kind of an interesting environment because it's so full of people. It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to any Comic-Cons.
We've not been, but we've talked about them a lot because every time there's one, there's somebody coming on the show to promote it. Marko, nice to get to know you. Thank you for taking time to be with us. Good luck with the book. I found it on Amazon for the listeners. And let me see. Do you have a website you want to tell us about, Marko?
Yeah, it's markokloos.com.
And Kloos is Kloos.
Kloos. Yep. And Marko with a K.
Marko with a K, absolutely. Marko, thank you so much. If you're ever in Florida, come on into the studio. We'd love to have you in here.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, Marko. We'll be right back.
Freddy's Specialty Sundaes, classic American treats, made with freshly churned, rich and creamy frozen custard.